From a hidden daughter kept secret for 15 years, to a rap-turned-folk grandson struggling with his legendary lineage, to a son who channels his family's pain into fighting childhood disease. Bob Dylan's children have navigated fame, secrecy, and personal tragedy in ways that would shock even devoted fans. One daughter's existence was completely concealed until a biography exposed the secret marriage, while another chose total invisibility despite her father's global fame. Here's what really happened to Bob Dylan's children. Maria Dylan. Maria Dylan represents one of the most remarkable stories of privacy and reinvention within the Dylan family, beginning her life as Maria Lowndes before becoming part of music history's most famous household. Born on October 21, 1961, to Sarah Lowndes and photographer Hans Lowndes, Maria's early childhood was spent in a 5-story Manhattan house between 2nd and 3rd Avenues, where her mother worked as a model appearing in Harper's Bazaar. When Maria was just 4 years old, her world transformed completely as her mother Sarah began dating the rising folk music sensation Bob Dylan, who was already making waves in Greenwich Village's music scene. After Sarah and Hans Lowndes separated, and Sarah's relationship with Dylan deepened, the young Maria found herself at the center of one of music's most significant unions. When Bob Dylan married Sarah Lowndes on November 22, 1965, in a secret ceremony under an oak tree outside a judge's office on Long Island, he officially adopted Maria, giving her the Dylan surname that would follow her throughout her life. Growing up in the Dylan household meant being surrounded by creativity and constant artistic energy, as Bob and Sarah welcomed 4 more children together: Jesse in 1966, Anna in 1967, Samuel in 1968, and Jakob in 1969. The family split their time between their Woodstock home and properties in New York and later California, creating an environment where music and artistic expression were part of daily life. However, when Maria was 16, her parents' marriage ended in divorce in 1977, a painful period that inspired many of the songs on Bob Dylan's acclaimed album Blood on the Tracks. Despite growing up as the stepdaughter of one of the world's most famous musicians, Maria chose a path that deliberately led away from the spotlight and into the world of law and literature. She pursued higher education and eventually became a copyright lawyer, a profession that ironically connected her to the music industry her father dominated, while allowing her to maintain complete professional independence. Her legal expertise in copyright matters positioned her in a unique space where she could understand and protect creative works without seeking personal fame or recognition. In 1988, Maria married Peter Himmelman, an Orthodox Jewish musician and composer from Minnesota who had achieved success both as a solo artist and as a television soundtrack composer for shows like Judging Amy and Bones. Their marriage represented a fascinating convergence of artistic traditions, as Himmelman brought his deep religious faith and musical talents into a relationship with someone who had grown up surrounded by secular folk music's most influential figure. Together, Maria and Peter Himmelman built a family of 4 children, creating a household that blended Orthodox Jewish observance with artistic creativity. Peter has often spoken about the balance between his religious commitments, including praying 3 times daily and observing the Sabbath, and his demanding career in music and television composition. Their partnership has endured for more than 3 decades, built on mutual respect for privacy and shared values around family life. What makes Maria's story most extraordinary is her unwavering commitment to remaining completely private, despite her unique position in American cultural history. Peter Himmelman once revealed that in their 26 years of marriage, Maria had never given a single interview to any journalist or media outlet, never spoken publicly about her famous stepfather, and maintained absolute discretion about their family life. This level of privacy is almost unprecedented among children of major celebrities, reflecting Maria's deliberate choice to live authentically rather than capitalize on her famous connections. Maria has also pursued creative writing, with her poetry appearing in respected literary magazines, including Plume, Diagram, and the New Ohio Review, establishing her own artistic identity, completely separate from the Dylan musical legacy, while honoring the creative spirit that surrounded her upbringing. Jessie Dylan. Jesse Byron Dylan carved out a remarkable career that transformed him from a music video director into one of the most influential filmmakers and social change advocates of his generation, all while navigating the unique challenges of being Bob Dylan's eldest biological son. Born on January 6, 1966, in New York City, Jesse entered the world during one of his father's most productive creative periods. Just as Bob Dylan was revolutionizing popular music and becoming a voice for social change, Jesse's childhood was spent moving between the family's homes in Woodstock, New York, and later California, where he witnessed firsthand the creative process that made his father a legendary figure. When his parents divorced in 1977, Jesse was 11 years old, an experience that shaped his understanding of both the benefits and costs of fame. Despite the upheaval, Jesse maintained close relationships with both parents and developed his own artistic vision that would eventually lead him into the world of visual storytelling. After studying film at New York University, Jesse began his career directing music videos for major artists, including Tom Waits, Elvis Costello, Tom Petty, Lita Ford, and Lenny Kravitz. His work behind the camera demonstrated a natural ability to translate musical energy into compelling visual narratives, and he even provided the cover photograph for Tom Waits's 1992 album, Bone Machine. This early success in music videos served as training ground for the larger filmmaking projects that would define his career. Jesse's breakthrough into mainstream filmmaking came with comedy features including How High in 2001, American Wedding in 2003, and Kicking and Screaming, starring Will Ferrell in 2005. These projects established him as a capable director who could handle large-scale productions and work with major Hollywood stars, proving his talents extended far beyond his famous last name. However, Jesse's most significant cultural impact came in 2008 when he directed the Emmy Award-winning music video Yes We Can for Will, I Am, inspired by Barack Obama's presidential campaign. The video featured over 30 celebrity supporters singing Obama's New Hampshire primary concession speech and was created in just 3 days. Originally posted on YouTube, the video received over 26 million views within days of its release and was later recognized by Ad Age in 2012 as one of the most influential political advertisements of all time. Beyond filmmaking, Jesse founded Wondros, a global creative agency and production company dedicated to solving complex communication challenges for organizations focused on healthcare, social justice, and positive change. Through Wondros, he has worked with prestigious institutions including the National Institutes of Health, Harvard Medical School, the Clinton Global Initiative, Michigan Tea Media Lab, and many others. In 2016, he began working on the National Institutes of Health All of Us research campaign, which aims to enroll 1 million Americans as partners in medical research. Jesse's personal life includes his marriage to actress Susan Traylor, with whom he has 2 children. Son, Pablo William Dylan, born in 1995, and daughter Fury Mae Beatrice Dylan, born in 2000. Pablo's story became particularly noteworthy when, as a teenager, he released a rap mixtape that gained significant media attention as Bob Dylan's rapping grandson. Pablo later told Rolling Stone that he considered his great-grandfather the Jay-Z of his time, creating a rare public moment that broke the Dylan family's usual code of privacy. Eventually, Pablo shifted away from hip-hop and returned to folk and singer-songwriter music, creating an unexpected full-circle moment in the family's musical evolution. Anna Dylan. Anna Leah Dylan stands as perhaps the most enigmatic figure in the entire Dylan family, having achieved a level of privacy so complete that basic facts about her life remain shrouded in mystery and conflicting reports even decades after her birth. Born on July 11, 1967, Anna was Bob Dylan and Sarah Lowndes' first biological daughter and second child, entering the world during a pivotal time when her father was at the height of his creative powers and cultural influence. Anna grew up in the same artistic household as her siblings, splitting time between the family's Woodstock home and their various other residences, surrounded by the constant presence of musicians, artists, and creative energy that defined the Dylan family environment. When her parents divorced in 1977, Anna was 10 years old, an experience that likely influenced her later decision to maintain such strict boundaries between her private life and any public attention that might come from her famous surname. Unlike her brothers who pursued careers in entertainment and film, Anna chose to focus on visual arts, reportedly becoming a painter who has developed her own artistic voice completely separate from her father's musical legacy. However, even this basic information about her career comes with uncertainty, as Anna has maintained such complete privacy that few details about her artistic work, exhibitions, or professional achievements have ever been confirmed publicly. Some sources suggest she may have pursued higher education and completed college, but even these fundamental biographical details remain unverified due to her deliberate avoidance of any media attention. The extent of Anna's privacy becomes clear when examining how conflicting information about her personal life has persisted across multiple sources and publications. Various biographical accounts have incorrectly stated that Anna married musician Peter Himmelman, when in fact Himmelman has been married to Anna's half-sister Maria since 1988. This basic factual error has appeared in numerous sources and demonstrates just how successfully Anna has kept her actual personal relationships and family life away from public knowledge. Some reports suggest she married someone named Samuel Abraham Dylan and has a child, but even these details cannot be independently verified due to the family's commitment to privacy. Anna's approach to avoiding public attention goes far beyond simply declining interviews or avoiding red carpet events. She has no social media presence whatsoever, has never been photographed at public events with her family, and has managed to keep even basic information about her residence, career achievements, or personal relationships completely out of public records and media reports. This level of privacy is virtually unprecedented among children of major celebrities, especially considering the intense media interest that has surrounded the Dylan family for over 5 decades. What makes Anna's story particularly striking is how her extreme privacy has actually created its own form of public intrigue, with journalists and Dylan biographers occasionally attempting to piece together information about her life, but finding almost nothing concrete to report. Even unauthorized biographies of Bob Dylan contain minimal information about Anna beyond her birth date and basic family relationships, suggesting that she has successfully maintained her boundaries even when other family members have occasionally spoken publicly about their experiences growing up as Dylan's children. The mystery surrounding Anna's life choices reflects a deliberate decision to live entirely on her own terms, free from the expectations, pressures, and constant scrutiny that typically accompany being the child of a cultural icon, creating a space where she can pursue her artistic interests and personal relationships without any connection to her father's extraordinary public legacy. Samuel Dylan. Samuel Isaac Abram Dylan has lived one of the most quietly profound stories within the Dylan family, transforming from Bob Dylan's most private son into an unexpected advocate for childhood illness awareness after his family faced a devastating medical crisis. Born on July 30, 1968, in Woodstock, New York, Samuel grew up as the third biological child of Bob Dylan and Sarah Lowndes, experiencing the same creative household environment as his siblings while developing his own preference for staying completely out of the public spotlight. Unlike his brothers who pursued careers in entertainment, Samuel chose photography as his creative outlet, developing skills behind the camera that allowed him to express his artistic vision while maintaining the privacy he valued so deeply. After completing his education, Samuel briefly worked alongside his older brother Jesse at the Los Angeles-based production company Straw Dogs, gaining experience in the creative industry before ultimately deciding to focus on his photography work and personal life away from any connection to the entertainment business. Samuel's path toward building a quiet, private family began when he met Stacy Hawkheiser while they were both students at Hampshire College in Amherst, Massachusetts, around 1988. Their relationship developed over several years of college, and they eventually married, with Stacy later describing their long partnership by saying they had been together forever, despite Samuel's complete avoidance of social media and public attention. The couple settled into a life in the Los Angeles area, where Samuel could pursue his photography while Stacy developed her career as a licensed marriage and family therapist. Samuel and Stacy welcomed two sons, Jonah and Lowell, and for several years enjoyed what appeared to be a normal family life, away from any connection to Samuel's famous father. However, when Lowell was just 2 years old, the family's world changed dramatically. When he began experiencing severe stomach pains that led to a devastating diagnosis of Crohn's disease, a chronic inflammatory condition of the gastrointestinal tract that disproportionately affects people of Ashkenazi Jewish heritage. The diagnosis transformed both Samuel and Stacy's lives completely, as caring for Lowell became what Stacy described as a full-time job and more. The daily reality of managing Lowell's condition required constant attention to special diets, regular monitoring, and coordination with an entire team of healthcare providers, including doctors, specialists, massage therapists, and hypnotherapists. Stacy explained that her role had evolved into being basically a case manager, mom, and a cook all at once, while Samuel provided support and stability for the family during an incredibly challenging time. Rather than retreat further into privacy, the family's medical crisis inspired Stacy to channel her professional background as a therapist into advocacy work, leading her to co-found a nonprofit organization called Connecting to Cure Crohn's and Colitis in 2010. The organization's mission focuses on uniting the inflammatory bowel disease community to promote public awareness, fund research for new treatments and potential cures, and provide support for patients and families dealing with these lifelong chronic illnesses. The nonprofit's work has brought an unexpected public dimension to Samuel's otherwise completely private life, as his brother Jakob Dylan and the Wallflowers have regularly headlined benefit concerts at venues like the Troubadour in West Hollywood to raise money for Crohn's and colitis research. These events have created rare moments where Samuel appears in public alongside his famous brother, united by their shared commitment to helping Lowell and other children facing similar health challenges. Jakob Dylan. Jakob Luke Dylan became the most musically successful of Bob Dylan's children, while simultaneously waging a years-long battle to establish his own artistic identity, often going to extraordinary lengths to avoid any mention of his famous father in public conversations. Born on December 9, 1969, Jakob was the youngest child from Bob Dylan's marriage to Sarah Lowndes, entering a household where music was a constant presence, but where the pressures of living up to his father's legendary status would eventually become overwhelming. Growing up in Los Angeles after the family moved from New York when Jakob was 3 years old, he initially found inspiration not in his father's folk music, but in English rock bands like The Clash and The Jam. Jakob later recalled that The Clash were both popular with other kids and still had something valuable to say. And when his father took the family to see the Clash perform at the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium, Jakob interpreted this as validation that his musical tastes were legitimate. This moment led him to ask for his own electric guitar and began his journey toward forming his own musical identity. After briefly attempting to pursue art studies at Parsons School of Design in New York, Jakob returned to Los Angeles and formed the Wallflowers in 1989 with childhood friends. The band's early years were marked by struggle and rejection, with their 1992 debut album selling only 40,000 copies before they were dropped by Virgin Records. During this difficult period, Jakob developed an intense commitment to protecting his privacy and avoiding any discussion of his family background, understanding that media attention would focus on his father rather than his music. Jakob's determination to be evaluated solely on his own artistic merits led him to adopt an unusual interview strategy, where he would refer to his father only as he or him, refusing to use the name Bob or the words "my father" when speaking to journalists. This approach continued for years, even after the Wallflowers achieved massive success with their 1996 album Bringing Down the Horse, which sold over 6 million copies worldwide and produced hit songs including One Headlight and Sixth Avenue Heartache. The success of Bringing Down the Horse brought Jakob both validation and increased pressure, as he found himself constantly fielding questions about his father and facing expectations that he felt were impossible to meet. In interviews during this period, Jakob expressed frustration with the music industry's focus on his lineage rather than his songwriting abilities, and he admitted to sometimes deliberately avoiding writing lyrics that might sound like references to his father's work because he was exhausted by the constant analysis and comparison. The emotional toll of this struggle became clear when Jakob eventually opened up about his feelings regarding his father's career and legacy. He admitted to feeling very envious of the freedom his father's generation enjoyed, explaining that Bob Dylan and artists like Neil Young and Willie Nelson get to do whatever they want without facing the same scrutiny that Jakob experienced. Jakob described how his father's generation had lasted and made it through, giving them the security to experiment and take creative risks that Jakob felt he couldn't afford because every artistic choice was examined through the lens of his family connection. Despite these challenges, Jakob has continued leading the Wallflowers through multiple albums and decades of touring, gradually becoming more comfortable discussing his father's influence while maintaining his own distinct artistic voice and proving that his success was built on genuine talent rather than inherited fame. Desiree Dylan. Desiree Gabrielle Dennis Dylan lived the most hidden childhood of any Dylan family member, her very existence kept secret from the public for 15 years, through an elaborate plan designed by her parents to protect her from the intense scrutiny that comes with being Bob Dylan's daughter. Born on January 31st, 1986, Desiree was the product of a romantic relationship between Bob Dylan and Carolyn Dennis, one of his backup singers who had been performing with him since the late 1970s during his gospel music period. Carolyn Dennis had grown up in a musical family, with her mother Madeleine Quebec having been a backup singer for Ray Charles and the Raylettes in the 1960s and 70s. When Carolyn began working as Dylan's backup vocalist, their professional relationship gradually developed into something more personal, though they kept their romantic involvement completely private. The secrecy surrounding their relationship was so complete that even people within Dylan's inner circle were unaware of the depth of their connection. When Desiree was born in early 1986, her parents made the extraordinary decision to keep her birth entirely out of public records and media attention. Bob Dylan was not listed as the father on Desiree's birth certificate, and the family took advantage of California laws that allowed them to seal their marriage certificate when they wed in June 1986, just 5 months after Desiree's birth. Dylan set up Carolyn and their infant daughter in a home in the Los Angeles suburbs, visiting them discreetly while maintaining his public life as if nothing had changed. The level of secrecy surrounding Desiree's childhood was unprecedented for a celebrity family, with Bob Dylan making no public acknowledgement of his daughter's existence, even as he continued touring extensively throughout the late 1980s and early 1990s. Carolyn Dennis later explained their reasoning in a statement, saying they had chosen to keep their marriage and daughter private for a simple reason: to give our daughter a normal childhood. She emphasized that this decision was mutual, designed to protect Desiree from the media attention and public scrutiny that would inevitably follow any child of Bob Dylan. The secret was finally revealed in 2001 when British author Howard Sounds published his unauthorized biography, Down the Highway: The Life of Bob Dylan, which exposed both the marriage and Desiree's existence to the public for the first time when she was 15 years old. The revelation shocked Dylan fans and the media, who had been completely unaware that the intensely private musician had been married for 6 years and had another child. Carolyn Dennis was forced to respond publicly, defending their decision and pushing back against suggestions in the biography that Dylan had been an absent father. Despite growing up in such isolation, Desiree developed her own passion for performance, inheriting musical talent from both parents and eventually pursuing acting and singing careers. She appeared in television shows including Modern Family and NCIS, and performed with notable artists including Chaka Khan and Jessica Simpson as part of the Young Americans performance group. In June 2014, Desiree married her longtime girlfriend Kayla Sampson in an intimate ceremony in Long Beach, California. Attended by approximately 100 family members and friends, while her mother Carolyn was present and even performed Amazing Grace at the church ceremony, Bob Dylan notably did not attend his daughter's wedding, despite reportedly being invited to the celebration.